Welcome to the Small Business Surgeon Podcast, the show where we dissect the businesses of top producers, examine their growth strategies, and share with you the bare bones of their success. I am your host, Samuel Smith, and I'm glad you're here. Let's operate. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Small Business Surgeon Podcast. It's Friday Fire. It's Friday, June 11th, 2021. And as we say around here, TFI Friday, guys. Thank goodness it's Friday. And a huge shout out today, actually, even though I'm recording this on a Thursday, when it airs, it will be Friday. And a huge shout out to my kid brother, Will. He'll be 37. I mean, wow. When did my kid brother become 37? That's old. And then it reminds me I'm creeping up to 41 this year. So anyway, for those of you just finding the show, I'm Sam. I play the role of the small business surgeon here on the internet. And we generally have interviews on Mondays. And so we've got some great guests actually coming up. I'm heading down, after I get done recording today, I'm heading down to Canyon Lake, meeting up with Zach Babcock and the Podcasting Association crew. So we're going to have the weekend there with the meetup. We're going to do some interview swaps. I got some really cool guests down there. So every Monday we have the interviews, and every Fridays we do Friday Fire, and that's just kind of whatever's on my mind. Like I said, we normally record them on Wednesdays, which has been really, really busy this week. So like I say, if you like this, please leave a comment. Like it, share it, helps other people to find the show, and do me a favor, and if you get any value out of the show today, please subscribe, please leave us a review. Anyway, moving on to the topic of today's Friday Fire, what I have learned since COVID. If I'm sure all of us remember last March 2020, when the world kind of stopped and slowed down a little bit. And wow, I mean, what a really different world it has become in just a year. And I wanted to take an episode here and just kind of recap what my year had been like and the things that I've learned and some of the takeaways that maybe some of you guys can use. What are some of the things that are different? So for those of you watching live, do me a favor, toss some things in the comment that are different. So for me, I started really thinking about it, and the amount of business that we do online now as opposed to in person, that's the biggest thing that's changed in my world. DocuSign, where we're adding e-signatures to legal documents, and Zoom going online, and everybody getting used to Zoom conversations and meetings, and not actually having to meet in person. Everything in real estate is going swimmingly now. It's all been streamlined, and it makes me think back to how clunky it used to be. I can remember working in offices in the early 2000s when I was in oil and gas, and everything was so clunky. It was everything in triplicate. We had to do 3 different printed copies of stuff. Everybody had to sign everything. You had to drive documents between parties, and now none of that exists. And really, what accelerated that transition was the shutdown last year, and it's wonderful. It's been very strange to adapt to, but I love the fact that more and more people are getting comfortable with conducting business and signing secure documents and everything on the internet, not actually in person. I think that's great. So for me, that's probably the biggest change that I've noticed in the marketplace. Personally, I was just last March, I was coming off the back of a foray into commercial real estate. I spent all of 2019 running around trying to get a commercial real estate business off the ground, as well as keeping the Living College Station brand going. And it was just too much work trying to get traction, and it didn't work as I planned. So I spent the first few months of 2020 getting back into residential. So right, we're going to really kick on and just focus on retail residential sales. And Media Foundry was doing really well as well. That's the media company I own. We were just literally the week before, we'd been out to dinner to celebrate. We were in profit, the bills were paid, we got some big contracts coming down the line. We literally just considered we made it, and then just everything just dropped out overnight. It was all gone. I closed a couple of houses after after the shutdown came. But all the media was gone. There was no work coming in. There was none of that stuff. Forgive me while I turn my page. You can see it here on my desk. And so it was a pretty bleak March. And funnily enough, the November before, I found this podcaster. I've been listening to a guy called Ryan Stewman, and I started listening to him more and more, and he was laying out weird hippie shit about gratitude. But at the same time, in the same breath, even he'd yell at his audience, or he'd call them out, or he'd call them motherfuckers, or whatever. And what it did for me is it balanced both sides of his argument pretty well. I'm like, all right, well, he's a little bit hippie, but he's definitely aggressive. So maybe there's something to look into it. And after looking into it for long enough, I was like, you know what I've been doing for 39 years has been okay, but it's not been great. I mean, I've had some really big wins, but nothing that I've built a legacy out of, nothing that I can pass on to anybody or anything. So I thought, I'm going to buy into this training. So I bought into this mastermind that put me around other entrepreneurs, other more successful entrepreneurs that were like further along than me, but were willing to help. And the big difference for me was like, if you've got like official organizations that are sponsored and all proper and everything else, and like the Chamber of Commerce, or maybe like the Bankers Association or something like that, when you've got associations like that, it's very difficult to network without a feeling of inferiority. There's definitely a hierarchy when you move into a new network, and these guys were nothing like that. It was all very welcoming and very much a culture of, hey, we've been through this, we've suffered the same things as you have, and here's how to build around it and get to the other side. It was a matter of getting around people that were further along than me, because to be fair, as we moved into April of 2020, I really didn't have much of a clue how I was going to pull off what we managed to pull off over the summer and over the course of early this year. I mean, we're 6 months into the year now, and 14 months ago, I had no clue if we were going to be around 6 months from then. So I would say that investing in coaching, investing in learning about how to run this kind of stuff has really been like one of the best parts of COVID for me, because again, I'd already been doing it that way for 39 years. It wasn't working. It was working okay, but it wasn't working great. And what I learned when I joined Apex was I had all the right pieces, right? They just were not in the right order. I had all the right ideas about how to do stuff. I didn't have the structure to lay it out. So my life was like way out of balance. So anyway, I was working in real estate. I was over at Remax in College Station, and everything shut down. Like everything, the building, the lot, the clients, and again, I had a couple of houses in escrow, and we managed to get them closed, but there was no future business. There was none of that coming. So it was real tricky. And I decided to take a look at my expenses. I mean, being, I think we were four deep in employees then. So having 4 employees plus me, and then looking down and going, right, well, I need this much for payroll, and I need this much for rent, and I need this much for utilities. It started to get a little bit troublesome. It was a pretty tough year. And with looking at the expenses, saying, right, what can we cut and what can we not? I had put so much stock into the impression of a professional real estate agent, a real estate agent that wore a jacket maybe, or wore a shirt, or wasn't always like, not like I am now. I let my tattoos out. I don't mind if I swear in front of people, as long as it's in context, obviously, and spelled correctly if needed. But I get to be who I am, and I think the feel at Remax was a little bit too corporate for what I enjoy, for what I like. I don't like being responsible to anybody. I like to make my own rules. And the brokerage I'm with now, provided everything I do is legal and ethical, they really leave me alone. They're great. So I joined EXP in I don't remember, May, June of 2020. And what that did was it forced me to examine all my expenses, and we cut our expenses actually by moving offices and moving my license as well from one broker to another. So we made a real estate move and a license change, and by doing that, I cut my expenses by about $35,000 a year, which in my budget is significant. I mean, it's it's not all the budget, but 35,000, it's way better in my pocket than it is spent on rent to a building that I was in a real estate building. It was designed for real estate, so it was very well put together. So you had the agents upstairs, then you had the lender downstairs, the insurance company downstairs. There was an office for a title company downstairs, and then there was a coffee shop downstairs. However, the problem being people only came in when they needed real estate related stuff. Now I'm in downtown Brighton, people are just hanging out all the time. But that's a little bit further into the story. So yeah, we're just touching on what I learned this year from COVID and the positives of it. For those of you just tuning in and joining the live stream, this is the recording of tomorrow's Friday Fire episode. You can check it out on iTunes or over on Spotify. Just check out the Small Business Surgeon podcast. So what I learned in COVID, I learned to control my expenses, like really. We went in, because with cash flow going to zero, right, you've got to just reassess literally every cost that you've got. And a big mistake I made, actually, and it's such a tough fucking decision, right? Because you've got guys sitting doing nothing, looking at you going, shit, we need to eat, what's going on, great leader, you better fucking lead us, right? And you're sitting there going, well, fuck, where's the work? And the mistake I made was taking work that we weren't necessarily going to make profit on, and it felt like a mistake at the time. It might not have been a mistake, actually, because we did buy a lot of goodwill in the community, and it bought us validation material, and it boosted our portfolio immensely. So I can show work that we did last year. But as far as money, no, we didn't make any money at all last year. Media Foundry only survived because I took money that we were making in real estate, and I scooted it over. And I took advantage of a couple of loans. I mean, that's the only way Media Foundry made it. And I'm pleased to say those loans are almost completely paid back. Within the next few weeks, they'll be knocked out. So, I feel like we've made it well onto the other side of COVID right now. But what I did was in COVID, I went to work, but I made the mistake of cutting my prices to win the work. And I think that one might have had a little bit of a detrimental effect on us. But like I said, we've come through it. I learned that you have to build a social presence. You have to build a person on social media that people can relate to and people can interact with. I'm me, but you wouldn't know me if I wasn't sitting in front of this camera talking at you and, talking on my microphone and recording it and putting out on the internet. You've got to be a person that gets out on the internet as a character. And I mean, it's not a fake character. You can't fake this. You've got to really lean into it. But I decided to play a podcast host. That's the character, and here I am making podcasts. It's that easy. But I learned to work on building that social presence because more and more people were interacting first on cell phones than they ever were in person, and especially without the pubs open and everything else. Everybody's social interaction went online. So I just poured into learning how to create a dominant social presence and how to build out social media accounts and how to gain every little bit of organic traffic that you could without having to pay for it. Because that really, really sets a business apart when they're getting eyeballs on them for the cost of marketing and not for the cost of advertising. Because your marketing is your culture. It stays around. It's the message you put out over and over and over. It stays around with you. Any kind of advertising that you pay for is up and it's gone. So we really focused on that organic stuff. And I learned how to build a guy that people know and they like and they trust and they refer business to. And I learned how to define my ideal client. That was something I never even thought about. Most business owners, like me as a real estate agent, like, who do you want to sell a house to? Well, anybody. Fuck, just let me sell a house. I need to make money. I'll sell a house to anyone. And that is like just about the worst way you can do it. But it's what you condition to think. It's what you are taught when you go into real estate school. Right, call everybody you know and you end up with a list of like 600 people, and like the assistant that was at the vet 3 times ago when you dropped your cat off, and you're just like, fuck, do I really have to call this girl and be like, hey, do you know anyone who wants to buy or sell a house? And there's no better way to do it. And, you know, so by learning to define my ideal client, I don't have to do that. I've learned over the course of the last year and a half to attract clients, and I target them deliberately, and we go after them. And if you are working with me, I guarantee it is because I figured out who I wanted to work with, and you have been, targeted as a client, by me interacting with you on Facebook. I mean, it's a wonderful way that this stuff works. We can literally choose who's in our group. If you want to hang out with 5 successful podcasters, go find 5 successful podcasters online and hit them up and join a mastermind group with them. It's insane what I've learned in the last year by just digging for it and just surrounding myself with better people. It's just like, I would not have found this without COVID. So when you come in and you look on the face value of COVID and you're just like, oh, fuck, it took all of our business. Like, first week of April, we were like, well, what do we do? We're going on lockdown for 2 weeks, and it's already been 2 weeks. Now we're like, well, shit, what do we do? And to go from that through the learning process, I just want to teach the lesson of how we can all look at what happened during COVID. I see Ben on here. Ben quit a long-term job and took a leap of faith on himself in a sales position. Maybe that was because of COVID and how stuff was slowing down. But so many people, I believe that the reason that restaurants are struggling to find staff is that so many people figured out during COVID that with an internet connection and a little fucking tenacity, you can make a really decent living using the internet. And it's way more than $2.25 an hour or whatever they pay these poor kids. And I think the cost of acquiring new skills has seriously has been driven down by the internet. So for a fraction of what it used to cost, you can learn just about anything. You can go on YouTube, pick up all these new skills and sell them, and that's what kids are doing, and they're bright, and they don't want to work in restaurants for $2 an hour, and shame on you for paying them that. That's not enough. Anyway, so COVID, it helped me learn how to define my ideal client. It helped me learn how to be grateful. That's something that was part of the hippie bullshit that I didn't really buy into, and it's really actually been life-changing, and I can recommend wholeheartedly that you buy into it by focusing on things that you're grateful for and focusing on the things that you won that day. Your entire attitude to everything around you changes. I'm grateful for my boys. I'm grateful for coffee outside. I'm grateful for my office downtown. I'm grateful for my companies. I'm grateful for the new clients that we boarded this week. It goes on and on and on, because that's all good stuff. Yeah, I've had headaches this week. I've had bills this week. We got a debit card compromised this week. I mean, stuff happens, but by focusing on all the wins, that's what, COVID taught me to be grateful. It taught me to be thankful for the things I have. It taught me, and it helped me to keep myself accountable, accountable to fitness, and accountable to leading. If you want to be a leader, you've got to start by leading. You can't just hope and become a leader. You've got to set an example, and you've got to do things that people will hopefully follow and look up to, and that stuff will resonate with them. So I learned how to stay accountable because of that. I learned how to podcast. I took a leap of faith back in December and joined Zach Babcock's group, the mastermind group for podcasting, and I just jumped off into it. So if I'm going to spend this much money, we're going to make it work. And actually, as soon as I leave here, I'm driving down to their second meetup this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. But by joining the podcast group, I was able to take live at the lounge and the skill sets we'd learned doing that for the last 3 years, and then really think about the audience I wanted to hit. And we went to the Small Business Surgeon brand at the end of January, and it's grown now into the multiple thousands of downloads, and I'm really, really proud of it. So I would not have even started a serious interview style podcast were it not for COVID. I wanted to find a better way to get in front of an audience and teach the lessons I've learned and tell stories and learn about sales and bring in business to my companies. And so that's why I started it. And it's turned into this thing where I just get to help loads of people, and I've got this fucking networking group. Who'd have thought I'd have had a group with 900 other business owners in? I set that up because of COVID, because everybody was struggling. I'm like, fuck it. Everybody struggled this year. Every small business owner has. I'm going to make a group and I'm going to put them right there. And it's been incredible. I've learned to run events. Like, we bring in speakers and speak to this group. All this because of COVID. I would never have discovered this. COVID led me to Apex. It led me to being broke. It literally, all I do now is I get to help people make sense of their marketing, their business, their real estate deals. I get to teach people how to make shit profitable. COVID taught me how to fight. It taught me like how to stack the deck in my favor, and it really taught me to survive as an adult. With the way that we do marketing now, and the way that the internet works, and the way that humans interact with each other now, that would never have come about if it wasn't for COVID. And it is the strangest thing in the world. I just feel like I've got the experience. That was like, I've never had to navigate anything like that before. None of us have. Who had to navigate like the entire fucking economy shutting down and be like, nah, I'm out. And then we're seeing videos of Chinese people dropping dead in the streets, and we're all starting to worry about it. And then right in the middle of it, they fucking steal a general election. I said I'm already on the list. That just bumps me a little bit higher up the list. But everybody knows that 80 million votes and the most popular president in history don't get tens of thousands of downvotes on YouTube. They don't get, oh man, we better leave that alone. But COVID taught me that you can rig an election. But it also, I think, what COVID was, it was the storm that I needed to weather to get to the level of skilled sailor. It was the fire that I needed to go through to help the anvil, so I could shape shit on that anvil and become hard, because it's just been such a blessing now that we're through the other side of it, and the amount of work we did, and all of that has started to pay off. And I'm not going to list my wins on the podcast. I'm going to let you see them over time. I'm not going to stand out there and trumpet about the new clients we've brought on, about the amount of travel the guys are doing, about the amount of money they're making now. We're not there yet. Not at all, but I want you to see it. I want you to watch it live on Facebook. I want you to watch it live on Instagram. I want you to watch the change that's coming up, because COVID, honestly, COVID leading me to Apex was absolutely the best thing that's ever happened to my businesses. So anyway, that's it from me for today. That's Friday Fire, guys. I just wanted to share what I'd learned and let you all know that there's definitely a way to navigate all this shit that we're looking at and make a living and make a really good life doing what we love to do. So again, that's it from me, guys. If you've enjoyed the podcast, do me a favor, subscribe, share it, leave me a review, let me get the word out to a few more people. And now I'm going to go and run and join Zach Babcock and the guys down in Canyon Lake. So you'll be good, and I will see you guys Monday with Monday's guest and the next interview on the Small Business Surgeon. You'll have a great weekend.
This has been the Small Business Surgeon Podcast. If you made it this far, you clearly liked it. So go on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. This helps people find the show and spread the good word. Share it with friends and follow us at Small Business Surgeon on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you for your follow-up next week. The Small Business Surgeon was recorded at Texas Media Foundry in downtown Bryan, Texas. Check them out at txfoundry.com. Ooh, yeah.